This is an audio version of Life in Autism Land posts. Kind of a blog thing that I do. Usually whenever something comes up, sometimes they happen in very short succession, and oftentimes it's days, weeks, or sometimes even months between them. There's no real consistency behind it for me. It's just when something comes up and it's got my mind going on it, I talk about these things. Well, the other day we had a pretty incredible experience with Russell as far as communication goes. It was kind of a little mini breakthrough, something that we really wanted, and it's not a huge thing, but it is. So the other night, as we're going to bed, Molly sleeps in the bedroom with Russell, and I sleep in a bedroom with Nathan. It's just how it has worked out for us, and that's going to change very soon. Nathan is ready to be on his own, and he needs and wants his own space, and I respect that. It's just going to cause a little bit of moving around to happen in the house. We got to figure that out. Anyway, we're going to bed the other night, and Molly sends me a text message, and she says that Russell is crying. Well, Russell doesn't often, I mean, he's an emotional individual like anybody else, but he doesn't often cry unless there's like actually something wrong. And she couldn't figure out why he was crying, and it's very hard. I've explained it before that trying to communicate with Russell is like playing a game of charades. Like, it's legit. I can't really think of another example other than that. It's just like playing charades. It's really it's interesting. Anyway, it makes life interesting. It makes life incredibly difficult for us. I cannot imagine how difficult it is for Russell to be 14 and a half years old, and he's never had a conversation with anybody. He's never been able to get his basic needs met. He's never been able to get, he'll come to us and he'll say red milk. Red because the cap on the milk jug is red, because he'll only drink whole milk. Don't try to give him 2% or 1% or, God forbid, skim milk. I mean, what is that? He wants whole milk. And so he'll come and he'll say red milk, because there was a time where I believe it was me that made the mistake of buying 2% milk, and he was not a fan. We don't do that. It's whole milk. Anyway, he'll say that. He'll say popcorn, chocolate. Every once in a while, if he needs to go to the bathroom, if we're traveling or something like that, he will say bathroom. Never indicates whether he needs to go pee or if he needs to poop. It's just bathroom. He will say Walmart DVD when he wants to go to Walmart and get DVDs. That is an extremely expensive hobby that he's got, by the way. So if you know anybody with DVDs that they're getting rid of, let us know, because we will take them, because Russell loves that. Anyway, so Molly sends me a text message, and she says Russell's crying, and I go into the bedroom, and I crawl into bed next to him and just kind of put my head in his lap, and he's not like sobbing, but he's crying. Like, his eyes are runny, and he's sniffling, and Molly and I are kind of talking to each other, trying to figure out, okay, well, like, what are the motions that he's doing? What words were you able to try to kind of figure out that he was speaking? And we just couldn't really figure that out. But it sounded like he said family. He was saying miss family or something to that effect. And we very quickly kind of put that down, but we really, we couldn't tell if he was saying miss. We couldn't tell if he was saying family. That's kind of what it sounded like to us. And so I just thought, well, I'm just going to go get a speller board. For anybody that doesn't know, we've been doing spelling to communicate with Russell. It's a long process. It can be both frustrating for him and us, and also for his practitioner when we don't exactly hold to the schedule like we should. Anyway, we've been doing that, and so I just thought, well, I'm just gonna, because Russell does know how to spell. He knows how to read. He knows how to spell. It's just getting the two things combined to figure that out. As I've said before in written blog posts, that it's like learning a whole new language, and it's hard. If you've ever learned a new language, it's difficult. It is not easy to do that. And yes, while it's English, again, it's just not. Try communicating with your spouse or your child one letter at a time, and not through text messaging. This is not what it is. You have to actually point at a letter, and that's how you communicate. And you have to spell out these long sentences, and so typically with spelling at the beginning, anyways, most of it is short form answers, and pretty direct. You avoid as much as possible yes nos. You cannot do yes no things because it's not true communication. I know it seems like it's real communication, and at a very, very basic level, I guess it is. But you're not getting depth. You're not getting cognitive interaction. You're not getting what you hope to get out of that communication with them. It's just not true. Anyway, so I go get the speller board, and I get there. So there's different boards that they can use. There are 3-letter boards that have 2 rows of letters on them. And so between those 3 boards, it will have all 26 letters on the alphabet. There's a number board that will have 1 through basically 0, which, you know, is like 10, and then it's got like a plus, minus. Basically, it's a multiplication or an addition, basically a math board. And then there is another board that's a 26-letter board. It's got all 26 letters on it. And so I went and grabbed that one. It's not a board he's ever used before. I don't know why I grabbed that in particular one. We've got 2 different sets of these anyway. I grabbed that board and I take it back into the bedroom and I ask him, Russell, can you spell what's bothering you? What's going on? And he immediately and very quickly did MISS. And it was so fast I wasn't entirely sure that I caught it. And he so I asked him, I said, well, Russell, can you spell it again? And he goes MISS, miss. And then he went to a couple of other letters. He mispoked those. So in spelling, anything that's a mispoke is not necessarily something that you can, it's not reliable communication. But it looked like he was trying to spell Maddie. He can spell Maddie because he's done it before. But he missed, but he was 100% on 3 different times on MISS. He misses something. I'm almost basically 100% sure it's Maddie that he's missing. Because we ask him, and when we ask him that, he kind of almost relaxed a little bit. I mean, he was still very emotional and was crying, and is very sad. But the crying got a little less, and it was almost like he understood that we understood he's missing his big sister. which for us, it was an absolute breakthrough. When you go 14 years without being able to communicate, and before spelling, we would have had to play this game of charades and just guess that, yeah, he's missing something. But what we got the other night, what we got was Russell telling us that he misses his sister. And so Molly was able to call Maddie the next morning. I believe it was Tuesday morning that she called. And of course, Russell was completely disengaged by that time. But he got to hear her voice and he got to see her face before he went to school. And more so, Maddie got to see and talk to him and be involved in that. Even from 1,400 miles away, she still got to make her brother's day better. But just imagine going for 14 days or 14 years without being able to tell somebody that you hurt, that something's wrong, and that you need help or that you need comfort or whatever it is that's going on in your life in that particular moment. Is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And there's just just another one of those moments through this journey that we've been on with spelling, which it's been a long journey. It's been years ago I heard about this program. It's, some people call it RPM. It's a rapid prompt method, which the program that we use is not a rapid, it's not a prompt. You cannot prompt Russell in any way. Because it's not true communication. If you're manipulating the board, if you're manipulating anything, it's not true communication. And so you don't know that he's actually communicating with you if you manipulate him. And so we don't do that program. Which is why a lot of families they don't do it, because that's what's heard of, and that's what the ABA therapists claim that you're doing, that you're prompting them. It's not true, real communication. It's just not true. It's just not. The spelling to communicate program that we use is very specific. It's very, when you see it, you know it. And that's something that we saw on Monday night with Russell. One four-letter word, fortunately a four-letter word that is an appropriate four-letter word, because Russell does like to use those four-letter words a lot. And often in some of the most inappropriate places. But he was able to communicate to us that he misses his sister. And we were able to help him. And it's incredible when you get to see that. Now, what I experienced, or not experienced, but today I got a message from one of our friends who, it was a video of a mother showing her child doing what's called echolalia. So echolalia is something that Russell also does. So we've kind of moved away from the term nonverbal, because he's really not nonverbal. He can speak. Like, he can form words and he can speak those words. It's just not it's not what you it's not like a conversation like what we would have if I was talking to a person and not this silly little phone. Anyway, so like I said, it's called echolalia. I've talked about it ad nauseum on my Facebook blog things that I do for Life in Autism Land. Echolalia, the easiest way to explain it from my perspective, and again, please understand, I am not an expert in any of this. I am not an autism expert. I am not an anything expert. I am simply a dad who's very committed and devoted to making sure that my children live the best lives that they can live. And I'm not unique in that. Most involved dads that I've ever met are the same way as me. They're just not as vocal about it as I am. I know a lot of really, really good men who are phenomenal fathers. I talk to one on a pretty regular basis. His son also has autism. And we laugh because our two sons are very, very close friends. Anyway, so echolalia, the easiest way for me to explain what it is like talking to a parrot. You can teach parrots specific words, specific language, but it isn't communication. Polly want a cracker is echolalia. When a parrot uses that, it's basically echolalia. And so in this video, this mother was so proud of her son because the ABA therapist was asking him questions, and he was answering with basically one-word answers. They're memorized answers. They're it's not true communication. It's not true communication. I need to be very clear in that just because it's not actual communication does not mean it's not a step towards communication. The fact that this young man, who I assume is non-speaking, that's kind of the new term or the adopted term that we have started to use in our home. He's non-speaking, or the other term is unreliable speaking. And so Russell is more in the non-speaking because he is definitely verbal. If you've ever spent any time around Russell, he's a noisy kid. He is not quiet. He is one of the loudest people. Again, if you've ever spent any time around our family and Russell specifically, the term Russell, turn it down, or Russell, be quiet, is frequently used, which seems kind of like an oxymoron when we're trying to teach this kid how to talk and then we're telling him to be quiet. But the verbal stimming can get extremely overwhelming. Anyway, so this mother is very excited about this echolalia, and it's fantastic. It truly is. Echolalia is a first step. Russell also does echolalia. It is a speaking disability. It is something I think that more research probably needs to be put into as far as speech development. Again, I don't know all the answers to these things. I don't know what research is being done. I don't know. There's so much that I don't know. Oftentimes people will think that Molly and I are autism experts. Again, we are not autism experts. We are experts in our son. We are experts in Nathan's brand of autism, and we are experts in Russell's brand of autism. We're not an expert in anybody else's brand of autism, just our families. We do a whole lot of research, but just because I read the research studies doesn't mean that I'm a researcher. It doesn't mean that I'm a scientist. I can take what I learn and what I read in these research papers and in these documentaries that I watch, and the books that I read, and the magazine articles that I read, and the YouTube people that I follow that explain the autism research. I can share what my interpretation of those things are, but again, it's important for people to know and understand that I am not an autism expert. I'm not a scientist. I'm not in any of those things. I have a deeper understanding of it than most people do. But if you go talk to a mechanic, if you talk to a Chevy mechanic, they're going to understand the mechanics of a Chevy engine far better than they would if you were to talk to a Ford mechanic about a Ford engine. right? They understand the components of each, but there are different differences, basically. That's a very, very basic, very simple explanation of that. But there are, anyway. So when it comes to autism and things like that, I'm not an expert. I'm just an expert in my children. But this friend of ours shared this video with us. I'm sure in the hopes of showing, hey, this is a communication. This is something. Maybe she doesn't know that Russell does do echolalia. Maybe she doesn't fully understand what echolalia is. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What I appreciate is the fact that this person would share this video with us. That she would think about us. That she saw something come across her news feed or her Facebook page, whatever it is. She saw it. She thought of us, and she shared it with us, which is pretty incredible. And we've got there are some people that actually will do those things with us, that think about us and share those things with us, and we really, really appreciate the fact that we are on other people's minds, that they think about our children. That's what makes community so awesome. And having the right people in your community is just incredible. And so, yeah, these were my thoughts today on autism and with Russell, and the incredible, just the level of excitement that I have knowing that he communicated. A simple word, MISS. He misses his sister and he's sad. He's homesick for his sister. And while that breaks my heart, having experienced homesickness myself, I think everybody at some point, at some degree, experiences homesickness. It's not like this is a unique thing to me and my family. The fact that my son was able to tell us this and find comfort is incredibly motivating and inspirational to me, that my son is a little badass, and after 14 years he hasn't given up. He hasn't given up on trying to communicate with his mom and dad and with the people around him. I just about got hit. That's why you heard the horn. That dude seriousSeriously just about clobbered me. People make mistakes. It's not the end of the world, by the way. I'm just grateful that I have it in me to not give up on my son, and that I have an amazing wife and life partner and mother to my children who also does not give up. There's not a woman in the world who loves her children more than Molly loves her children. It is incredible, the level of devotion that she has and her ability to be in tune with our kids. It's just incredible. I'm grateful that I get to do life with her and that I get to see her. She makes me a better dad. I'm a pretty good dad, but she makes me a much better dad. And I'm grateful that I have a son, again, who hasn't given up. He knows that we're looking. He knows that we're trying. And he's an awesome little dude. And for that, I'm grateful. Until next time.